All right, good afternoon. We have some that have gone to the minister's luncheon and some that have gone to the maternal, but nothing is more important to me than looking at what's going on globally. We are a global people, and we have a great panel to talk about what's going on around the diaspora and what's going on around the world. We hear so much about Gaza, and we should. We hear so much about Ukraine, and we should. But what's happening in the Sudan? What's happening in Niger? What's happening in Haiti? What's happening with our blacks in Europe? So we want to have a panel, and I imposed on a dear friend of mine 33 years ago. I went at his request. He invited me. They had killed a young man in London, England, for being black in the wrong neighborhood. And we marched. They threw bananas at us, called us the N-word. And 33 years later, he kept in activism. He's now a member of the House of Lords in England. The victim's aunt has been a member of the House of Lords. He's also the head of Homerton College as part of Cambridge University. And he invites me every year to speak at Cambridge and Oxford, and I put on my British accent and I act like I don't come from Brooklyn. And he's going to chair our panel. Let us welcome Lord Simon Wooley.
It's great to see you. You know, thank you very much. You know what? I love his British accent. What do you think? I think my friend, the King of England, King Charles, would be proud of. Thank you all. Look, my name's Simon Wooley, Lord Simon Wooley. I've just flown in with my dear friend Stephen Maynard from Atlanta, Georgia, the home of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I had the most precious honor of being inducted into the Morehouse Hall of Fame. And I saw Reverend Sharpton's picture there along with the black greats, the heroes and sheroes. So I come to you this day walking on cloud nine. Let me quickly introduce our panel so we can get started, because I know that we're short for time. We have a truly international panel this afternoon. And so when I call the names, can you give them a round of applause, please? Amanza, Walton, Desir, from the Member of Parliament to the National Assembly of the Cooperative of the Republic of Guyana. Thank you. Milton, Kambula, the Special Peace Advocate and Representative and the President of Uganda. Miss Johanna Leblanc, a Haitian-American trained lawyer specialized in national security. And last but not least, Nicholas Marcus Thompson is the President and CEO of the Black Class Action Secretariat, comes out of Canada. Give him a round of applause, please. A round of applause. Before I begin, I want to thank a brother who does the tireless work. When you see people like our super brother, Reverend Al Sharpton, who many of you have seen his documentary Loud Mouth, right? Speaking for racial justice and social equity. And I try and model myself a little bit on Reverend Al, but behind the scenes, there are people that do a lot of the heavy lifting. And one of the brothers is in the wings now. He gets up at 3 in the morning on a regular basis and goes to bed at 12 at night. And he does it, let me say this, he does it for you. He does it for us. because he cares about bringing us together. Please, Johnny Mac, come forward and take a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. It's important, it's really important to support those who do the heavy lifting. I'm not afraid to say that it's often the sisters. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the truth. The resolute, the organizers that won't accept defeat. We pay tribute to you. Now look, this is the only international conversation that we'll be having during this conference, and it's critically important. You must know. If I'm honest, Johnny, too often, the African Americans, and with some justification, are looking inwardly. I know there's lots of fires burning when you look inwardly, but it's important equally to look globally, because that's who we are. That's who we are. And the hellfire that African Americans are being subject to, that hellfire is being wreaked across Europe, is being wreaked even within the black continent of Africa by European meddling, divide and rule, and the Americas. You need to know, you need to understand that our struggle in the African diaspora is your struggle too. Your struggle, all my panelists will confer, is our struggle. I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes about my own context in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, where I was born, and for the past 35 years have been fighting for racial and social justice. I see myself as a disciple of Dr. Martin Luther King, a disciple, using his mantra that states, we cannot ask for justice, for equality, for respect. We've got to demand it. And we demand it best at the ballot box. By understanding power, how it works, where it lies, how we can have agency over it. When we started Operation Black Vote some 30 years ago, there were 4 black, Asian, and minority ethnic MPs. 4. When we campaigned, when we lobbied, when we inspired, today there are over 60. Including, may I say, a brown prime minister. That's the good news. That's the good news. The bad news is, not all our skin folk are our kinfolk. Come on. Come on. I heard Reverend say that a number of times, Johnny. You know that. I spent most of my adult life making sure there were black and brown faces in high places, only to see some of them throw us under the bus. My days. When I see them black and brown politicians standing on the white cliffs of Dover, saying to black and brown people, if you come over here, We're going to give you a one-way ticket to the poorest country in the world, Rwanda. My heart despairs. My heart despairs. So we're catching hellfire because these black and brown politicians are feeding red meat to racist bigots for their own self-aggrandizement. How do we respond? How do we respond? We respond by coming together. We respond by organizing like we've never done before. This is what the National Action Network Conference is all about. Oh. It's on us today. Don't be weighed down by it. We want you to be empowered by it. We want you to be inspired by it. You've got to be too the disciples of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, let me introduce the panel. I first want to introduce my super sister. And when you hear her, you'll know she's a super sister. That's the truth. She radiates power, but in a sense of humility, right, which is true power. Amanza Walton Desir is, as I said, a member of the National Assembly of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. She is a partnership of National Unity, Alliance for Change, Opposition Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, whilst also overseeing maritime and aviation affair portfolios. She is an elected member of the Central Executive Committee of the People's National Congress Reform, the largest party in the coalition. Give it up for our sister, please.
Thank you, Lord Simon, for those warm words of introduction. And thank you to the National Action Network for the convening of this international panel. I hope that by the time we are through, we are able to convince and to enlighten you to the fact that our struggles are common and they will require common effort and a common solution. Before I get into my 5 to 7 minutes, because you know Lord Simon is a stringent timekeeper, as he said, I am from Guyana. Guyana is a small country on the northeastern tip of South America. I see my Guyanese people in the audience. Thank you for coming. But as a small nation, as an emerging petro state, we face an unprecedented challenge. As I stand here before you, our western neighbor, Venezuela, has passed a law purporting to annex 2/3 of Guyana in flagrant violation of international law, in flagrant violation of the ruling of the International Court, and in flagrant violation of every tenet of the international legal order. And so I stand here before you to ask that you keep us in your thoughts and in your prayers and stand ready to support us as we face this unprecedented challenge and aggression. Thank you. In the context of the current discourse, as I said before, Guyana as this new petro state has gained the notice of the world. But I want to propose to us that we need to go beyond notice to attention. It is important that we pay attention to Guyana because simmering beneath and simmering within our shores are the remnants of this dysfunction that has resulted from colonialism and the slave trade and we are grappling with the remnants of and the consequences of that, that era. And so racial and political and social inequality abounds. And indeed, when we look at Guyana, our evolution and our experience provides a unique lens through which we can view this conversation of racial inequity, inequality, and injustice. And what is unique is that our struggle really does crystallize that there are permutations and levels to this thing, to this struggle for justice and the struggle against social inequality and inequity. So if we trace the evolution of this conversation in Guyana, post-colonial Guyana was characterized by a struggle between the descendants of enslaved Africans, called Afro-Guyanese, and the descendants of indentured servants that came from India. And because of the economic disparities that were engineered post-sugar, post-colonialism, that struggle continued through a post-independent Guyana to up until now. What we are now seeing, however, is the mutation of that struggle from one of inter-ethnic conflict and confrontation to one of class. And that was caused by the sudden injection, as it were, of petrodollars. And so the injection, the sudden injection of significant resources into a poorly managed economy has resulted in the disparity becoming more evident. So what do we see happening? The struggle has mutated from one of race to one of class, because the middle class has all but disappeared. And so the gap between rich and poor is becoming more pronounced. So Guyana provides that context and that lens through which we could view this struggle that we are actively engaged in. Now, it's interesting because the question now arises as to whether this poverty, the social inequality, the injustice, has the capacity to be a unifying factor in a country where race and ethnicity has been the bane of our existence, as it were. Poverty as a unifying factor, however, still does not address the consequences and the results of decades of systemic and systematic oppression faced by particularly Afro-Guyanese and indigenous Guyanese in the context of my country. And so we run the risk of subsuming and leaving unaddressed those persistent inequalities which result today in the, as it were, the subjugation of people of African descent in Guyana in terms of economy and in terms of their ability to participate in the economy. So that is where we are in terms of figuring out how do we navigate this landscape. And truly, in a nation of black and brown people, how do we shed the vestiges of colonialism, and how do we move past the effects of colonialism, bearing in mind neocolonialism is upon us. And so these are the conversations that we will have to have in the coming days. Now, most important, I think it is your struggle is our struggle, and our struggle is your struggle. And it is important that we understand where each of us are in the struggle so that we can bring our various experiences to bear and learn indeed from each other. And so the evolution of race and inequality really is a complex and multifaceted problem. And understanding this history is important for us to chart a common way forward. From European colonialism, from European exploration rather, to colonialism, all the way through to the civil rights movement birthed here in the US, the challenging of segregation here and abroad. These are all the historical contexts within which our struggle is framed. And so in closing, I want to encourage us that the historical evolution of this struggle requires us to recognize that the battle is not a solitary battle. It requires a collective struggle that transcends borders, that transcends cultures and ideology. Indeed, it is a fight indeed for the very soul of our humanity and for dignity that should be the birthright of every individual, irrespective of their race, their creed, or their orientation. And so I thank you for allowing me a few minutes to share my thoughts and perspectives with you.
Wow. I told you, didn't I? Think about those last words. Think about those last words. A fight for the soul of humanity. In essence, that's really been the black struggle, right? What we are going through on a daily basis. Thank you, Amanza. I now want to call up Milton Kambula, who is a special peace advocate, representative of the President of Uganda. He is an expert and an innovative leader in African development. As such, he offers his 15 years of experience in education, transformation, entrepreneurship, peace building, moral leadership, and working cross-sector partners. Give a warm welcome, please, to Milton.
Lord, I thank you for really introducing us well. Please give him a hand of applause. First and foremost, I reach greetings from the people of Africa, and then specifically my president, but also the African Union and the East African community. They said I should tell you they love you. Africa loves you. In a special way, we want to really thank National Action Network for fighting for freedom, justice, and peace for our African brothers, our African black people that came here many years ago and around the world. He's a man of resilience and he's a fighter. Let us give him a hand of applause. That is Reverend Al Sharpton. We thank you, we thank you. In a special way, also thank you for fighting for justice for us. Our brother who died in pain, George Floyd. We were on TV, the entire African continent. We really thank you that at the end of the day, judgment was ruled, and we know George Floyd rests in peace. But in a special way, we want to thank him for his solidarity with our quest for economic justice and advising President Biden so that our brothers and sisters can get jobs in this competitive and unjust world. We believe President Biden, in his wisdom, will respect the request of Al Sharpton to seek for policies that work for everybody in the United States of America. Let me say that the global challenge on racial injustice and inequalities, colleagues many years ago before the coming of our friends from other parts of the world coming to Africa, this concept did not exist. It just came recently, just like corruption. Africa did not know corruption. Our forefathers did not know about unemployment and the confusion we have today. Colleagues, I want to take you back in history that indeed the concept, the context of racism did not exist. So what happened? How do we define it today, colleagues, friends, my brothers and sisters? How do we live in this kind of polluted atmosphere where racism and corruption and swallowing each other, building bombs to kill one another? Oh my God, what happened? Tell your neighbor, what happened? Tell your neighbor, what happened? This was not an African concept of such kind of confusion. And to tell you that is not part of our concept, we were able to build the pyramids, the science and technology that will give the world the best universities in Africa that burst the rhetoric, the concept of civilization. This is a new world order that we are not prepared for. The voice of Africa, therefore, that I'm representing right now, I want you to really go back in history to understand that for Africa, in spirit and flesh and civilization, we knew we were connected to each other. That is how we knew our relations, that you cannot hurt another. Based on the skin of or the color of his skin, we knew you cannot hurt another because, or on the basis of his or her gender. We knew that thousands of years ago, before the coming of the colonial education. But very importantly here is that we knew the concept that we are the ones who burst the world. We knew, because even the scientists have evidently produced evidence about that, that whether they are Chinese or Americans or Europeans or Middle East people, we knew that they are a part of us. So there was no reason to hate them, to hurt them, to kill them. Rather, the African continent welcomed everybody. I want to tell you that the concept of unity in diversity came from Africa. Colleagues and my friends, therefore, I want to remind you that you are a special people. And we are the original people. Not only the original people, but we knew to communicate to God. So I come here to represent the entire continent and remind you of that confidence. The confidence that we are one family under God. We are connected to that power. That's where we get our constitutions and the rule of law and the human rights concepts and the dignity that we want to give every human being. Colleagues, based on that, the second concept is the concept of then spirituality that will come or share one common origin. The lack of understanding that is why America and in every part of the world we have injustices. The failure for us to understand that we came from one spiritual God, the Creator, and that one day we will die and go back to Him. That is the source of all the devils and the injustices that is happening here. And so I bring a higher knowledge to everyone in this room and around the world that we have to reboot the world towards that civilization. Colleagues, because of time, I want also to acknowledge that that wisdom that Africa had many years ago then helped us to understand that how do we live with each other in peace and harmony? To answer that question, our forefathers, who had power to talk to God directly, individually, And that's why we had one faith. We did not have religion, we had faith, spirituality. And so this is what God told everybody in their prayers to God. That we got to have what we call common shared values. Tell your neighbor, common shared values. Common shared values. That then, for us to be able to live with one another, each one of us must walk and demonstrate those common shared values. What are these common shared values? One is Ubuntu. Tell your neighbor, Ubuntu. Ubuntu. This was a word that I'm resurrecting from 5,000 years ago. That when we die, we will connect with our forefathers. They will ask us what happened, because some words cannot be in English. This is a word you should be able to practice from day one, from today. That you are because of I am. I am because of you. That is the basis to end injustice in America. That is the end of injustices in Europe, Middle East, Asia, and Africa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The moment you understand that your success depends on your neighbor, on your community, and your success also depends on other people in other countries, then you will not build nuclear bombs to hurt them. Tell your neighbor, thank you, God. Thank you for providing that information. Now, we grow. When we grow in the culture of Ubuntu, we come to the demonstration of living for the sake of others. Living for the sake of others means putting up systems that serve the greater good of the whole world and also the environment. So, in the 1 minute that I'm left with, I want to urge you that at independence, because we had to open Africa, because we were welcoming our brothers and sisters back to home, back to Africa. The history books are not telling us really what happened. We want to use this opportunity of National Action Network to take action to reboot and rebuild conversations around education, so that our children can be able to understand that Africa was able to open up because we were welcoming our colleagues who misused us to put up an education that makes us blind and weak and unemployed, so that we can depend on another person. But a true African man and a woman is the man who serves others, who loves others, who want to live in peace with others. And so I trust that the other people from China, Asia, America, everywhere must understand the position of Africa, which is the light for the world, to feed everybody, to make everybody prosper, to make everybody strong, and to become champions as the whole world, as we share what God has given us. Thank you. May God bless you. I will go back to Africa and tell them that, yes, the opportunities in Africa can be achieved, can be shared. The gold, the diamonds are in Africa. We are here to share with the world. May God bless you.
Milton, thank you. Thank you for helping us reset. Often in the daily struggle, we've got our heads down and running fast because we have to. And yet, what Reverend Sharpton does for a few days is allow us to keep our heads up and look around and listen to those wise words of Ubuntu, of community, of how many times you go to a conference, it's very few times you will hear the word spirituality, right? Faith, that I may I'm here to serve you, you're here to serve me. Because we live in a Western Eurocentric world which is all about the self. You know, next month is the 4th anniversary of George Floyd, right? Where the world shook of seeing that murder in front of our eyes. And there were some of the biggest conversations that the world has ever had, the USA, the UK, Europe, and others, about racial inequity. But here we are 4 years down the line, and what are we witnessing? Snapback. So there's a conversation, this could be hopeful, and then snapback. And in that snapback, we're going backwards to the normalization of racism once again. The only question that Sharpton and others around the world are asking is, what is our role? And that's why I'm going to call now upon Miss Johanna Leblanc. She's a Haitian American trained lawyer specialized in national security law and foreign policy. As a partner of Adomi Advisory Group, PLC, she offers invaluable guidance to the diverse clientele in trade, debt, financing, and projects in emerging markets, public relations, sanctions, federal legislative processes, and diplomacy. She also serves as an adjunct professor at Howard University. Give her a round of applause, please, for Johanna Leblanc.
Good afternoon. Bonsoir. Nous là? Très bien. And thank you, my Lord. First, I wish to express my deepest gratitude to the great Reverend Al Sharpton, Johnny Mack, and the rest of the team for organizing this panel on international relations. As an internationalist, I was quite excited to have gotten the invitation and to learn that we're going to be discussing international related matters, because the reality is that we are all interconnected. As Black people, whether you live in the Caribbean, right here in the United States, on the African continent, in the Middle East, yes, Black folks are in the Middle East, wherever you are, our struggle for democracy and resources remain the same. And there are so much more that unites us than what divides us. The sooner that we come to that realization, the sooner that we can mobilize ourselves, work together to confront the challenges that exist in our world today. And I'll take it a step further. We saw how one person who was infected with COVID-19 in a place called Wuhan, China, a place that none of us had ever heard of. And it ultimately led to the death of millions of Americans and countless others all around the world. And it also led to the collapse of our global economy. So if that in itself did not prove to us all how interconnected that we really are as a human race, I'm not sure we'll ever get it. So the reality is that I would be remiss, obviously, if I did not take the opportunity to discuss the current crisis in my birth country, the Republic of Haiti. So I have to put this into context because it is multifaceted and very nuanced. What we are seeing currently is a manifestation of failed foreign policy and, quite frankly, lack of governance in the country of Haiti. And let's talk a little bit about the history of Haiti. Who are we as a people, as a nation? Who are the Haitian people? Haiti, which gained its independence in 1804, through a bloody revolution with France, is deemed as the first Black independent nation in our hemisphere. And what many of us may not also know is that the fight for independence was not just about Haitians wanting to liberate themselves from the oppression and suppression of France, but it was also to liberate Black people from all over the world. In fact, in 1805, a year after the country gained its independence, it amended its constitution to make it such that anyone who is Black who were to step foot on Haiti's soil would be considered free. Right. A white man could not own land nor be a slave master. So think about what was happening in the United States during that time. Slavery was booming. Berlin Conference had not even taken place yet on the African continent. So Haiti, to the world, the Western world in particular, how dare you to not have only gained your independence, but now you want to liberate other Black folks? The audacity. And as we know, slavery have always been about the utilization of Black bodies for economic gains. So since you have that audacity, you will suffer and you will pay. Haiti had to pay reparations to France in the billions of dollars.
That's right. That's right.
The United States of America did not recognize the independence of the Republic of Haiti for more than 60 years. So from the inception of the country's independence, it was put in a position to not economically thrive, followed by a series of coups, again, failed foreign policies such as the policy under the Clinton administration, which essentially decimated Haiti's agriculture sector, a sector which the country relied heavily on. Farmers and children and families relied on for their survival, completely decimated, to provide the preference to farmers in Arkansas. So we must reassess U.S. foreign policy towards our strategic partners, our so-called friends and allies, because foreign policy does not have to come at the detriment of other nations. We can all win. The United States can win, and other nations can too win. So today, the Republic of Haiti, with a population of more than 11 million people, is at its knees, and we need your help.
That's right.
Just like
That's right.
we tried to liberate other Black folks in 1805, we need your help. We need help with liberation. The country is now faced with a humanitarian, insecurity, and economic crisis. Today, more than 360,000 people have been displaced due to gun violence, and more than 80% of the country's capital, Port-au-Prince, is controlled by gangs who have more sophisticated weapons than the members of the Haitian National Police. How do we fix this crisis? First, I wish to applaud President Ruto, the President of Kenya, for its commitment to lead the multinational force to the Republic of Haiti to help address the insecurity crisis. I think it shows solidarity between the people of Haiti and our beloved continent, the African continent. However, that is not sufficient. We need resources to strengthen the Haitian National Police, to strengthen the security structures that currently exist in the country. Because when Kenya leaves, Haiti needs to be able to fight external challenges as well as internal challenges. So our security structure in the Republic of Haiti must be fully strengthened. In addition to that, this is not just a humanitarian and insecurity crisis. It is an economic crisis. The reason why gangs are able to recruit young people is because of lack of jobs. More than 60% of the country is unemployed. So I called on the United States Congress to pass an economic package to revitalize the country's economy, to rebuild infrastructures, and also with the help of job creation. So hopefully, the administration will work with the Development Finance Corporation to prioritize projects in the Republic of Haiti that will bring back much-needed jobs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Think about this for a second. The small Caribbean island of Haiti was at the epicenter of African revolt against the European powers. The epicenter. The European nations could not see that country succeed. There have been 3 nations that have paid reparations for certain acts. Germany to Jewish people for the Holocaust, right? Quite rightly. The English, as a matter of fact, paid reparations. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They did. Mm-hmm. Not to those enslaved, by the way. Mm-hmm. To enslavers. Unbelievable. And the third country that's paid reparations, that's kept this wonderful spiritual nation on its knees today, was Haiti. That had to pay reparations to France up until a few decades ago. It's up to us to lift Haiti, to celebrate it for what it symbolizes for us, not to lament that another black country is so desperately poor. That's on us. Thank you, my sister. Last but not least, Nicholas Marcus Thompson is a renowned human rights advocate, labor union leader, non-profit executive whose work spans across Canada's civil services, labor unions, and broader societal frameworks. He's made significant strides in challenging systemic discrimination, earning a respected voice on the international human rights stage. His advocacy has been recognized at prestigious forums such as Amnesty International, the Senate of Canada, and the United Nations. Nicholas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I want you to turn to the person next to you and tell them, together we can.
Together we can.
Tell them again, together we can. Together we can confront racism and discrimination. Together we can ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion lives on. And together we can dismantle the systemic barriers of oppression. Good afternoon, everyone. I certainly feel the energy in the room, and as I understand, the President of the United States will be joining shortly, so it's my closest opportunity to open for the President of the United States. I feel the power and the energy in the room. And this is the power of unity. This is the fire we bring to the fight of justice. So we are here today to talk about something that is really challenging and it's impacting all of us in our respective countries, the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the wake of the global outcry following the murder of George Floyd, organizations across North America publicly committed to DEI. Many hiring and creating DEI networks and groups, many, it seems today, have just been check marks. Right. In various U.S. states, legislation is being introduced to dismantle DEI initiatives. These actions are not just misguided, but they are harmful. In Canada, DEI is also under attack, and they threaten to roll back the progress on hard-fought gains that have begun to address centuries of systemic oppression against black people and racialized groups. But let me be clear, DEI is not a handout. It is a fundamental human right. It is a necessary response to centuries of systemic oppression and inequality. And as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So this profound truth reminds us that when one of us is under attack, we are all under attack. That's why the work of Reverend Sharpton and the National Action Network is so vital. Because racism knows no borders. It does not stop at the checkpoints at Niagara Falls or to Mexico. Therefore, our fight against it cannot be confined within our local and national boundaries. NAN's work internationally is necessary. And let me just share briefly with you the story of determination from Canada, where black workers organized and took unprecedented action and filed a $2.5 billion class action lawsuit against the entire federal government of Canada for decades of discrimination against black people, for failing to hire black people, for failing to promote black people. And it wasn't just about compensation, it was about forcing our nation's practices and policies, the embedded practices of denying black people opportunities. And because we stood up, because the community came together, we are witnessing historic change. For the first time in Canada's history, and perhaps around the world, people of African descent are now being recognized in employment equity legislation. This is historic. But it is only happening because we refuse to be silent. And I'm going to finish up before Lord Simon hands me a piece of paper. But let us remember, together we can push back the tide of regression. Together we can turn the resolutions here today into results. Next week, at the United Nations Permanent Forum for People of African Descent in Switzerland, we're not just speaking, we're taking action. We are launching a global strategic litigation and advocacy network, and this tool, our weapon against injustice, where we take grievances from the streets to the courtrooms, from the protests to the legal precedents. Together we can change laws, together we can shift paradigms. We will challenge systemic discrimination in employment, education, healthcare, housing, and other sectors. We will use every lawsuit, every court ruling to secure reparations and recognition long overdue. And together, we can ensure that this decade would not be remembered for its failures, but for the rise of a global movement that turned the tide towards justice. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of thousands of Canadians that my organization represents, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for this opportunity and the National Action Network. Thank you very much.
I love this brother, not just because he's better dressed than me, which is no mean feat, by the way, but rather because he embodies the soul of black people, the energy, the hopefulness that we can come together and be stronger. But you know, when I talk about sartorial elegance, can I get my panel to stand up? I just want to see. This is what black people do. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. You see, in the black struggle, we have no tension between style and content. That's right. You know, what I like about listening to my brothers and sisters here today, and we were going to have a different format, but I just wanted them to speak. I just knew that they would preach. I just knew that they would soothe and inspire our souls. Today is a day in which we pause and come out of the trenches in our own neighborhoods. But for a moment, for us to come together, to hold hands. Can you please stand up and hold hands? Please. If you can. And hold hands. And in doing so, in that tactile moment, we're doing something that black people do well, in which we share the spirit of goodness, share the spirit of empowerment, share the spirit of looking after each other for the strong fight ahead. Let me tell you, this is another one of those moments in history. The forthcoming election in the USA is not any just election. It really isn't. It's one of those historical moments that if we lose big. We lose big. I need you today. I need you. Our communities need you as never before. You're on the front line. You are the warriors of justice. Too often, you will feel tired, beleaguered even. Please remember this day. Please remember how you are serving the servants of God, the servants of humanity. And I promise you, will not be defeated. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. As has been said, we are the warm-up act for the president. A great warm-up act too. We've got time for 2 questions to our panel. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone. Brother at the front, one at the front, and we've got one at the back here. Can we get a microphone to the audience, please? One question. Okay. We've got time for one question, I've been told by Johnny Mack. Give the brother a microphone at the front, please. There we go. So you're asking a question for the whole floor now, so better make it good. Where's the microphone?
Hello.
Yes. Good. Shoot.
Yes, actually, I won't ask a question. I'll just add my voice. I'm from Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a country of 100 million people. I'm very honored to be here. I just want to say something.
If you want to come on the stage, brother, you want to say something? Okay. You got something to say? Come on the stage. Quickly.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Okay, what I want to say is that Africa has 52 countries, and African among them. I'm from Congo, and when things happen in Congo Kinshasa, people even in Congo Brazzaville are not even aware of it, because those borders have divided us for all these years. There are people that are black in this world that have a voice that is very loud, that allows African to communicate across borders. It's African American. I'm talking to the African American and telling them...
You've got 15 seconds, brother.
I just want to tell you guys that it's your voice that can allow us to communicate between us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have one more speaker, and he's here. John is going to introduce him. Come forward, my sister. So this is what we do here. You know, we just have to be flexible, and when we see someone that's got something to say, we'll give them the floor. And I'm just been given a note on who the super sister is. Shall we roll? Mercedes. Council member. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I believe you heard so much coming from all our brothers and sisters that are standing here. My name is Mercedes Narcisse, and I represent the 46th District. I was born in Haiti, came here for high school, and I had seen a little struggle, but now it's a real struggle. And you have heard from my sister how Haiti came to play. It was our brothers and sisters that left Africa, the continent of Africa, finding themselves in the land of Haiti. But been through so much, they had decided that we all need to be free. No more slavery for all of us. Not only those that came from the continent of Africa, wherever you were living, wherever you were, we were saying no to slavery. Because of that, you know, folks did not like that, because we're touching people's pocket, the economic ways of living, to say that we are inferior to all of the rest. But we know we are not. We know we are smart people. We know that if we're giving opportunity, we will do amazing things, not only for ourselves, for everyone else. It has been proven. I'm saying like so many of us now, we have some great leaders in the room, Bishop Nicholas, Pastor Leslie Thoma, Dr. Kompas, that have been fighting for our community, and so many others that I'm not, if I don't call your name, it's not that mean you're not fighting. Continue fighting. The leadership is important. Right now, as a council member, not only I'm a council member for the 46th district that represent the largest part of the city, of the 51 councilmanic districts that we have in New York City. I'm the chair for hospital committee in the council. I'm on education. I'm on a different level. And if you have not heard my name, Google it. Mercedes like the car, Narcisse like the perfume. Mercedes Narcisse. We collaborate together very well to bring solution to problems. You cannot tell me now we cannot do it together. So don't let anyone divide us, because together in strength we'll arise above all. Haiti can arise back again. Haiti can do it because we've seen our brothers and sisters throughout the world doing amazing things. So you cannot tell me in Haiti we cannot function. So we need your help. We need you to continue getting the information, accurate information, the truth. Let's stand for the truth. The truth shall set us free. For real. So I thank you for your time. Continue to fight for the good thing, for the great thing that we can do as Black Nation. So thank you all.
Thank you. Brothers and sisters, we're coming to a close. Can I once again ask you to rise to your feet and give a warm applause to my wonderful panel here. Thank you. Please stand back. Please stand back. Come here. Come with a picture. Come for a picture, please. Oh, we'll come down there. Okay, better still. You can see all the fancy suits.